President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver the State of the Nation address on Thursday, the 12th of February 2026 at 7 p.m. before a joint sitting of Parliament. The State of the Nation address is a key milestone in South Africa's democracy. It brings clarity and certainty to our political, social, and economic landscape and demonstrates that our democracy remains strong. In his address, President Ramaphosa will outline government's key policy objectives and priorities for the year ahead. The president will also reflect on progress since the last address in 2025, including advances in implementing the economic reconstruction and recovery plan. The State of the Nation address is not only about policy, it is a ceremony of national importance. The Civil Guard of Honor will welcome the President and guests along the red carpet. A 21-gun salute and a South African Air Force flypast mark this historic occasion. The SANDF lines the President's route and the national anthem is played by the military band. The State of the Nation address is one of the rare occasions where all three arms of the state come together: the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. Provincial and local government are also represented, highlighting the unity and strength of our nation. Join us on Thursday, the 12th of February at 7 p.m. to witness the State of the Nation Address 2026. Be part of the nation's journey. #Sona 2026. Brought to you by the GCI.
Good evening, South Africa. Welcome to the State of the Nation Address, a special broadcast brought to you by the Government Communications and Information System, GCIS in short. And this broadcast is coming to you live from Cape Town. My name is Tari Munjez. Welcome to the program. And this special broadcast is being broadcast on various platforms, including Goza TV, community radio stations that are joining us. Welcome. And tonight, together as a nation, we're going to listen to President Cyril Ramaphosa delivering the State of the Nation Address 2026. I'm not alone. I'm with my co-presenter for this special broadcast. Ramaphosa, thank you so much for your time joining us for this special occasion for the country.
Definitely, Tali, and good evening to you and to our guest in studio, who is Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Kenny Morolong. This is more than a speech. It's really a call to action for all South Africans. So we urge them to join us online, following our hashtags, which is #Sona 2026, #GovZA Updates, and #Goza TV. And Deputy Minister, welcome once again.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to the listeners of Goza TV and all our community radio stations.
Okay. Deputy Minister, if we can just go into really the role of nation brand, because it's important for building patriotism. And I think the Sona also plays a huge role in curating symbols of patriotism. If you can just outline for us really what that means in terms of the mandate of our entity called Brand SA.
No, thank you very much. Brand South Africa was established in 2002, inter alia, to promote South Africa's global competitiveness and ensure that our nation brand is admired globally. Our nation brand hexagon is a strategic framework which enhances our country's reputation in a number of dimensions, key amongst which is around areas of governance, around areas of tourism, around the areas of investment, around areas of exports, and around areas of culture and heritage and people. Now, the role of the entity called Brand SA is to make sure that South Africa as a brand is promoted globally. And as a result, it is a destination of choice for tourists, but it is also a destination of choice for people who want to do business in South Africa. And our hexagon really measures the quality and the strength of our brand. And so it's very important that the work of South Africa's marketing agency, Brand SA, is enhanced. And it can only be enhanced if all of us are brand ambassadors. In other words, if we promote our country, if we speak positively about our country on social platforms and wherever we are, because it is not the sole responsibility of Brand SA to promote our nation brand. It is a responsibility of all South Africans. In doing so, we do not just enhance South Africa's reputation, but we also enhance South Africa's economy to draw investment, to be able to attract opportunities, and to be able to create much needed jobs, especially for our young people.
Thank you so much for that outlining, Deputy Minister. If we look at the Sona tonight, what do you think South Africans should be looking forward to in terms of looking at this President's speech as part of feedback and as part of our commitment, to living up to the values of the Constitution, of access to information, of freedom of expression, etc.?
Well, consistent with convention, the President of the Republic of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, will today outline government's plan ahead of the financial year. He will inter alia talk about programs that government has been able to implement and take stock of some of the programs, products and services that the government has been able to implement. But he will also elucidate on future plans, and he will direct the National Executive to ensure that those plans are implemented. You would remember that in the last year, Sona, the President spoke about the need for us to continue to make sure that South Africa becomes an infrastructure site, a construction site. And as a result, an amount of 1 trillion rands was set aside to drive infrastructure development in South Africa. We expect the President to elucidate on these plans, but we also expect him to speak about employment opportunities. As you know, the President is very passionate about employment opportunities. The Presidential Youth Employment Initiative is an indicative barometer of the President's commitment to create opportunities. So we also expect the President to speak about public employment programs that are aimed at stimulating the economy and creating much needed opportunities, especially for young people who are first-time job entrants, and to make sure that young people are upskilled and are provided with the requisite opportunities. He will also speak about the young people who are not in education, in employment and training. And he will speak about opportunities that are available and how we as government should empower these young people with opportunities. He will speak about the opportunities in both the private and public sector, particularly issues around Triple P, the initiatives that are aimed at stimulating the economy to create, as I said, much needed jobs, but also to turn South Africa into a construction site. Because by building the economy of South Africa, we would be creating much needed jobs. He'll be focusing on the 3 priorities of the 7th administration. He would speak particularly about inclusive growth, job creation. He would speak about building a capable, ethical and developmental state. The President will also elucidate on tackling the high cost of living and reducing poverty. So we think that the President will go to town, and coming out of this Sona, there'll be clear directives, as I said, for particularly the National Executive to drive implementation of these programs and initiatives.
Okay. With those clear directives, in your portfolio, you oversee the MDDA, which is the Media Development Diversity Agency, as well as Government Communication and Information System. And these 2 bodies are very critical in enabling citizens to also understand what is it that will be outlined tonight by the President. What will be your call to action, for the officials in those departments to actually ensure that the Sona is a Sona of the people?
Well, the first thing is that Goza TV is a digital platform that is aimed at showcasing government initiatives, government products, government programs. And this is one way of empowering citizenry with information. You would know that when the GCIS was established, it was established inter alia to empower the citizenry with information that will help them fundamentally alter the circumstances under which they live. But it was also established to coordinate government messaging and information, particularly across government departments and across all spheres of government. So we see GCIS playing an important role in providing the citizenry with much needed information about government product offerings, about government services. And this Sona will be better translated to our people through government communication and information system, which has platforms that will be able to translate the president address into tangible information, as I said, that will empower the citizenry and ensure that they make proper choices with respect to services of government, but also empowering them to fundamentally alter the circumstances under which they live. We see community media as but one platform, particularly because community media is the closest media to the people of South Africa. And MDDA was established in 2003 to inter alia provide support to small and commercial media. And GCIS as a body that provides oversight over MDDA continues to work with community media. You would remember that this year, or towards the end of last year, Cabinet approved the government communication policy, which inter alia enjoins that 30% of government advertising spend must be spent on community media. Because we realize the importance of community media as a medium closest to the people. We realize its fundamental role in informing, educating, and entertaining our people. And we see it as bridging that communication divide that exists in our society. We see it also as a medium that empowers the citizenry with information through their own indigenous languages, but also customizing this information for our various communities in the country.
Okay, thank you so much, Deputy Minister. Tomorrow is going to be World Radio Day, and we are joined in on the simulcast by community radio stations. If you can just give a message to our listeners that are joining us via the radio stations, but also to the community radio sector, and if you can just give them a word of encouragement or some kind of policy statement or reassurance about how government is committed to making sure that these community radio stations remain sustainable, but they also serve the people at the coalface.
Well, in 1994, we decided as the ANC-led government to democratize our airwaves. In doing so, we empowered the citizenry with information that is not as apartheid used to do, that is not censored, and radio became a medium that continues to do a great deal of work in dissemination of information. And radio is more than 100 years old. It has continued as a medium that has continued to empower our citizenry, empower the people of the world with information. It has continued to educate our people. It has continued to entertain our people. But more importantly, it has played its central role in informing our people. And we hope that radio will continue to grow from strength to strength as an important medium that seeks to bridge the information and communication divide.
Okay. Thank you so much, Deputy Minister.
It's always good, Deputy Minister, to summarize us in your own language and many languages that you speak as well. Just give a summary of your conversation in a few minutes.
Jaanong re lebogela go nna teng ga lona gompieno le go tswelela re na le puisano e re na le yone le lona. Selo sa ntlha ke gore re bona Goza TV e le nngwe ya di-digital platforms e leng gore maikarabelo a tsone ke go netefatsa gore re fa baagi ba South Africa tshedimosetso e maleba ka tiro e puso e tsweletseng go e dira go fetola maemo le seemo se ba phela mo tlase ga sone. Jaanong gompieno moporesidente wa naga o tla thankgolola lenaane la puso re shebeletse ngwaga o latelang. Presidente o tla bua ka diplane tsa puso ya rona mo go netefatseng gore re fetola moruo le seemo sa naga, mme re dumela gore government communication and information e tswelela go tshameka karolo e botlhokwa thata go netefatsa gore re fa baagi tshedimosetso e maleba le go gokaganya communication ya puso go e ka nna ya department tse di farologaneng tsa puso, e ka nna ya all these 3 spheres of government go netefatsa gore batho ba rona ba na le tshedimosetso e tla ba kgontshang gore ba fetole seemo le maemo a ba tshela mo tlase ga sone. Jaanong re bona community media e tshameka karolo eo e botlhokwa thata go dira jalo ka ntlha gore ke yone e gaufi le batho ba rona, ke yone e buang le batho ba rona ka puo e amogelesegang le batho ba rona ba e tlhaloganyang, mme re dumela gore e tla tswelela go ruta le go fa batho ba rona tshedimosetso le go tswelela go entertaina batho ba rona. Mme re dumela gore Sona ya gompieno e tla thankgolola lenaneo la rona segolobogolo la 7th administration la go fetola seemo le maemo a batho ba rona ba phela mo tlase ga yone. Re lebeletse gore presidente a bua gompieno o tla lebelela segolobogolo dilo tse di tshwanang le go fetola South Africa go na construction site. Le tla gopola gore mo ngwageng o fetileng presidente o committile diranta di le 1 trillion sa go netefatsa gore re improve seemo sa rona sa naga sa infrastructure, mme re solofela fa presidente a tla tswelela go bua ka mananeo ao bile re tla dumela gore o tla bua le gape ka the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative e leng gore ke nngwe ya di-public employment programs tsa rona sa go netefatsa gore re thankgolola ditiro segolobogolo mo bašweng ba rona ba e leng gore ba tlhoka ditiro thata, mme re solofela gore moraga gore presidente a dire se lona le GCIS le tla tswelela go sedimosetsa batho ba rona ka puo e ba e tlhaloganyang gore mananeo a puso a re a lebeletseng a eme jang, mme re solofela gore moraga gore presidente a bue gompieno o tla be a ntshitse le ditaelo go rona jaaka di-ministera le di-deputy minister gore netefatse gore se a se buileng e le tota maikemisetso a puso re a se diragatsa re le barongwa pusong.
No, re lebogile thata motlatsa tona re lebogetse gore o nnile le rona mo letsatsing la gompieno, mme go babogedi ba rona le itse gore ka jana we are going to go to an insert around the Atrium Boutique Hotel e leng gore e butswe ko Polokwane.
President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver the State of the Nation address on Thursday, the 12th of February 2020.
Atrium Boutique Hotel is here.
Before a joint sitting of
Atrium
Parliament.
Boutique Hotel
The State of the Nation address
is
a
the
key
product
milestone in
of
South Africa's democracy.
with
It brings
energy,
clarity and certainty
with
to our political,
with
social
tourism
and economic
department.
landscape
Finding
and demonstrates
this big
that our democracy
establishment
remains
is an
strong.
indication that
In
these
his address,
policies
President
are
Ramaphosa will
implemented
outline government's
and
key policy
benefiting
objectives
the
and
people of
priorities
this country.
for the year
I
ahead.
myself, Joey,
The President
as
will
the
also
example,
reflect on
and
progress
even the
since the last
employees
address in
under this
2025,
umbrella,
including
they can
advances
attest
in
that
implementing
they
economic
are the
reconstruction
beneficiaries
and recovery
of the
plan.
policies of
The State of the Nation
This
address is
blended
not only
funding
about policy,
is very much
it is a
essential
ceremony of national
because of
importance.
different
The Civil
departments
Guard of Honor will welcome the President
offering
and guests
findings
along the red
as
carpet. A 21-gun salute and a South African Air
Let's
Force
say
fly
your
past
concept
mark
is
this
bigger.
historic
It needs much money, but you realize that this institution can only cover you or help you this much. But when it is blended, many different departments can come together as one to pick up your dream and make it better, bolder, broader, and more beautiful. It means, in a nutshell, I can say it will give you explosion. Instead of being small, it will become bigger. Women are the powerhouse of this country. Empower a woman, you have empowered the nation. Educate a woman, you have educated the nation. Once you've empowered a woman to run an establishment like this, it is no longer about her. It is about all the beneficiaries under this establishment. And not only the beneficiaries, the families which are depending on the beneficiary under this establishment. For the government to form many establishments like Atrium Boutique Hotel through the funding, I'm grateful that this funding help many families. It gives them independence, it gives them dignity, it gives them hope to plan for the future. We have hired people who know nothing about management, but nowadays they can manage this establishment. And with that skill, they can go and be able to open their own businesses wherever. And what is the source of these skills which they're getting from the Atrium Boutique Hotel? It is from the government. Job creation, what the government is pushing, it's because they want to give human being dignity. And with this kind of fundings, whereby establishment like Atrium Boutique Hotel is here and existing, it has given dignity to somebody. And somebody who's employed has hope. And when a person has hope, they have plans. They plan about their life, they plan about the future, they plan about tomorrow. During State of the Nation address, the issue of job creation should be emphasized, should be a priority, because when people are employed, their dignity is restored. They feel valuable, they feel respected, they feel honored, and the dignity is sustained. I would like our president to empower the youth so that they can have confidence, they can have stability, they can have growth, they can be well trained, they can be well equipped, they can be wired to take hold of South Africa of the future and lead it for greater financial and economic growth.
Going live as Goza TV at the State of the Nation Address 2026 from the Cape Town City Hall. And now in studio, I'm joined in by the acting chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Communication and Digital Technologies, Mr. Imran Subraithi. Welcome to Goza TV.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have me to be in your studio.
Okay. As we go into it, as part of the Portfolio Committee, what are your expectations around the State of the Nation address for the sector, communications and digital technologies?
You know, what the president has consistently announced, and part of his apex priority is to build an inclusive economy. And one way of unlocking an inclusive economy is to unlock the digital economy. And the digital economy, I believe that I would like to see the president focusing a lot of energy in terms of how do we unlock opportunities in the digital economy. There's a huge amount of opportunities for young people, for them to be skilled in the communications in the digital space. There's a huge amount of opportunities to unlock in the digital economy. So for me, what I would love to see, a great focus by the president in terms of his strategic vision into hastening this digital economy that the president is so exceptionally passionate about.
Okay, thank you for that. And then with those expectations, there's obviously oversight that the portfolio committee plays. If you can just reflect on oversight that you've done in the previous year, 2025, and what kind of improvement mechanisms you'll be putting in for 2026 oversight.
You know, part of advancing this agenda of leaving no one behind, we carried out, for example, oversight visits in the Eastern Cape, which is the most rural of the rural areas. And what we found is part of unlocking opportunities when you go to these areas in terms of installers of different types of technology. These are ordinary people on the ground, the people in the community who were previously not employed. Manje, they become installers. They have now become small entrepreneurs, and they're creating jobs for others. So part of our oversight is to really see that happen, because often when entities come to us, they'll say, this is what we want to do. We want to create jobs. So part of our oversight is we went out in Eastern Cape, we went to rural parts of Eastern Cape, and we saw for ourselves these amazing opportunities for young entrepreneurs, for the unemployed, and employment creation taking place.
Okay, thank you. And your parting shot before you leave us tonight?
Yeah, you know, I really would love to see the president talking a lot about the microeconomy, the economy that touches the lives of people, the economy in rural areas, in towns, in metros. You know, the one is to have a conversation around macro, around the country level, but people's lives are really touched at the grassroots level. So I hope the president will be talking a lot about empowering small people, small businesses, creating jobs for the rather unskilled. South Africans are hugely unskilled. I'm looking forward to the president talking about how are we going to unlock opportunities for creating massifying employment creation for ordinary people, so that people feel, we talk about this, we're moving in the right direction, but the frustration on the ground is people are not experiencing that. I'm hoping today the president will talk, how then do we get people to experience that positive mood in the economy.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Subraithi. And to our listeners, earlier on today, we sat down with the Minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, and we reflected on issues that are in the environment currently, issues around water, crime and corruption. Let's hear what the Minister had to say about these issues. Welcome to the special broadcast of Goza TV. We're here at Cape Town City Hall, looking forward to the State of the Nation address tonight at 7 p.m. that will be addressed by our President Cyril Ramaphosa. And in studio today, we've got the Minister in the Welcome to Goza TV.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Minister. Minister, if we can start with issues in the environment, we understand that particularly in the city of Joburg, there are issues around water supply. If Minister can give us an overview of the interventions that government is bringing in that area.
So it's not the city of Johannesburg only, it's actually a Gauteng issue. You've got city of Tshwane, city of Johannesburg, city of Ekurhuleni, and the president yesterday dispatched the Minister of Water, Sanitation, and her deputy minister, and also the Minister of Culture to go to assist in that area. But the water shortage is a national issue, and it's for that reason that during the 6th administration, we started to make legislative amendments that will enable national government to make interventions into the water problem due to local government capacity. And in the 7th administration, we included water reforms as part of addressing the water challenge, and linked to that was the local government interventions. The president this afternoon will then articulate what are the interventions that are going to be made, both in the short term, medium term, and long term, accepting that the water problems cannot be resolved overnight, but there can be an alleviation of the problems in the immediate and in the medium term, in the short and medium term, and also in the long term, how we plan to eradicate the water problems of the country. So that is one of the interventions, and sending the ministers there was to make sure we get a feel of what's happening on the ground, why the interventions that were being made are not working, but also how do we then strengthen that. But we are doing a full kick on Operation Vulindlela in those interventions.
Thank you, Minister, for that. And I think we're also going to see the water reform bill bring in a lot of change, as you have alluded to the fact that government is going to take this issue seriously. And I think maybe, Minister, just a call to action for citizens on what is it that they can do on their part to also assist government while it's working on the reforms.
So the major issue now is the high demand for water. So we need to, all of us to reduce the demand for water. We need to use water sparingly. We cannot water our gardens. We know it's hot, but watering the gardens cannot be. We can't refill the swimming pools, those who have swimming pools, through the taps. We need to better for refilling the swimming pools so that we can get a lowering of demand. We need to also make sure that those of us who come across a leaking pipe, we report it. We can't leave the pipes dripping, so that we can fight to reduce the demand. The demand that is currently being consumed across the country is very high. In Gauteng, for instance, Rainwater have indicated that the demand is too high, and even if they increase the demand, because of the problems with the water, the reticulation infrastructure, those pipes will burst because the pressure will just be too high. So we need to reduce the demand as citizens. But the President will articulate the interventions that are being made, not only for Gauteng metros, but also across the country as we deal with the water issues. You recall, Naisna is now in day zero. Other municipalities, they have not had water for a long period. The President will articulate that, but the commitment is that it's part of the Operation Vulindlela Phase 2 reforms, and you know that when we put the reforms, you know how pedantic and how diligent and how focused we go into making sure that we achieve the targets of the reforms.
Thank you, Minister. And can we move now to the foot and mouth disease that has really plagued the agricultural sector? There are interventions there. If Minister can just outline what are the medium-term or short-term interventions that will assist with this challenge.
It's a number of issues. The President will also speak on those in that detail, but you are aware that we have rebuilt our capacity of the ARC and on the spot to do the foot and mouth vaccines. And though we will not be able to have enough numbers, there will be measures to get enough vaccines so that we can vaccinate the national head. So the President will articulate, because we need to deal with there was a time South Africa was FMD free. We need to go back to the status, and that work has to be done to get us back to that status, and they will be diligent about it. But we'll work with the commercial farmers, we'll work with all the farming communities, because it does not only affect our national security, food security, but it also going to impact on the prices of food, because if we don't have beef, it's part of the staples, and I'm sure there are people of the Eastern Cape and KZN, and I'm sure they can't live without beef, but it's going to affect the food prices if it's not handled, but also our export, because we are a big exporters of beef. So it's going to affect our trade and our economic growth. So we need to attend to this. The President will articulate the details of that.
Okay, thank you, Minister. If we can move to issues of crime and corruption, I mean, government has made a lot of strides in this issue. The JCPS cluster will also be launching the integrated crime prevention strategy. And the Civil Secretariat of Police is also engaging communities, I think, since from last year. Where is it that we see government really propelling curbing problems around crime and corruption?
So specifically on crime, you'll recall that in the previous administration we launched Operation Chanel, petty crimes and whatever, and we have dealt a number, a blow. We have had a significant reduction in the crime levels in those areas, and now the focus is shifting to dealing with organized crime, including illicit trade. And we have finalized a strategy on organized crime, and we are not saying that strategy is perfect. We're going to continuously improve and update it and deploy the resources concomitant to that strategy, and the President will articulate that. But key to that is the work that has to be done to decontaminate the criminal justice system of criminality or being run by organized crime, which has resulted in the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry, and the President has measures starting at SAPS, and he'll announce further measures based on the interim report of how we clean up that system quicker. not only and make sure that the criminal justice system is fit for purpose to deal with crime at an organized level, and we chase the big guys and make sure that we succeed in the fight against crime.
Okay, thanks, Minister. We also know that crime is not only the responsibility of government.
Indeed, we continue our coverage here, the State of the Nation Address 2026. And my name is Ceremonial. We continue our broadcast here in Cape Town. And we're quite happy that a number of participants in this important gathering are here. We thought that the work of local government is quite important as well. So I'm quite happy that representative from Salga also here, which is quite important as well. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome. I think for listeners who are listening to us everywhere in the country, please introduce yourself and just in terms of the work that you do, because we believe that when it comes to local governance, it's important that it gets even much more attention as well. Yes.
It is true, and thanks. Let me also take the opportunity to acknowledge your viewers. My name is Thabo Manyoni. I'm the chairperson of the Municipal Demarcation Board. We are dealing with boundaries of municipalities, including ward boundaries. Yes, local government is quite important. We also are saying local government is everybody's business. In other words, it's not only about municipalities trying to deliver services, but also national and provincial government also assist in that regard. What I'm expecting and what I think should happen is we should not only talk about assisting municipalities in terms of financial resources, when we also are aware that much of the money goes back again to national treasury. We also need to give the necessary support in terms of technical skills, engineers, accountants who understand local government, of course, and all the necessary skills that are needed to run local government. In most cases, we just bring people who basically also do not have the necessary skills and say they are coming down to assist local government and assist municipalities. Whereas you'll find that when you go even to rural areas, let's take an example of hospitals. You would never go to a hospital in a rural area where there are no qualified doctors.
Yeah.
But our government, when it comes to local government, they don't want to put much effort and the necessary resources to get qualified personnel to assist local government when it comes to service delivery. I'm expecting the president to basically talk about the support, not in the old way that we've been doing things, but in the new way of making sure that at least there is service delivery in terms of the support that will be provided to municipalities in the country. And from my side, when it comes to boundaries of municipalities, you can change boundaries as much as you like.
Yeah.
But as long as governance and necessary systems for governance are not there, nothing will happen. You will turn blue trying to make sure that you turn municipalities without really coming with positive results.
Talking about blue, you want to see those waters as well, water supply and electricity and a number of issues as well. I mean, from the Selga point of view, Councillor Stofile, please talk to us in terms of what are some of the expectations tonight. I know that when you talk about SAG, have been very busy this week and been a number of engagement with government at various levels as well. Talk to us about today specifically.
Thank you very much. Greetings to you and greetings to your viewers back at home. And we thank the opportunity that given to us today. Yes, we just concluded the SALGA National Executive Committee Lekgotla, and we are attended by 7 ministers on different areas at the economy, at finance, at development generally, electricity, and so on. What we expect from President today as South African Local Government Association is that the President will unpack what he said in the last State of the Nation of reviewal of the white paper on local government. Because the white paper of 1998 is the basic document that formed local government. And in that white paper, it assumed that 90% will be able to be generated from households. and the national fiscals will only allocate 10%. The history and the literature before us, it shows us that that is practically impossible, and therefore the 1998 assumption need to be reviewed. And we expect the president will then unpack, because it speaks on the funding model, that it must be then directed to local government. It can't be proper in South Africa after 30 years of democracy. Anyway, SALGA is concluding its 30 years in November. Constitution of the Republic, 30 years in November. Local government at the conceptual level, ideally they believe that the economy will grow. The economy has never grown. That is why today we are also talking about the possibility and the challenges on the automotive industries that are possibly threatened in the Eastern Cape, Nelson Mandela, Buffalo City, and also ArcelorMittal, for instance, the case there, the impact of that into municipality, into households' ability to pay municipal services. And we believe that the president had to unpack what they will then do with regard to the funding model. The second issue to me, I think, piggybacking on what Ndademanyoni is talking about, is the governance. The issue is not about shouting at local government. The issue is about getting involved. Don't send a person and say to public, I send an administrator with no skill, with no capacity, which will do the same thing that the municipality finds itself in the problem. Send technical capability in the municipality that it must then turn municipality around. I think we must understand, it's not a municipality or local government that have made a mistake. It's a national government led by President Ramaphosa today that decided to hollow out the skill out of municipality. That is why the engineering capacity, the town planning capacity are not in the municipality mostly, because what we did, we took a particular choice with regard to policies concerned that are not responsive to challenges that we're facing. We are facing disasters. There are many disasters that we are facing in the country today, and we expect that the national government, instead of declaring a disaster without resolving the problem in Limpopo, in Mpumalanga, and here in the Western Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal in the Eastern Cape, we expect the president to say something, what could be the holy approach of government in responding to those disasters.
It looks the task is huge as far as governing, the issue of capacity, the issue that we have to now draw back and say, let's go back to right the basics. That's what it is. But also it needs to start with policies as well. I mean, as we conclude, just to conclude for us in a few seconds in terms of some of the tech as you expect, but also talk about some of the things that we have seen progress in South Africa for, that we can note, that we can always draw from that way that we have achieved so far. Other people saying, no, the economy is not growing as in the higher pace as it can be, capacity is needed as well. Just in a few seconds.
Yes, of course. There have been much achievements at local government, as you would know, on matters pertaining to housing, making sure that there are access roads, and making sure that the economy at least can survive in terms of moving goods. But the main problem, of course, is whilst you have that as a basic infrastructure and foundation, you still need much support. And in most cases, we seem to be talking about local government only when there are problems, and we don't even come with permanent solutions in that regard. So the issue of policy, as indicated by our president of SALGA here, is quite important, because really there are municipalities that will never be able to collect as much revenue as possible in order to be able to implement in terms of what is expected from the Constitution when it comes to their powers and functions.
Yeah. Councillor?
No, to me, yes, I accept that since the democratic breakthrough in South Africa, there are many things that have been achieved. And if you look into the middle strata, it has grown. If you look into different services have been provided. And remember, between 18 million to 64 million today, you will see the gap that it has been a government participating in changing the life of people, but population is growing substantially. Now we need to confront and look into that and try to build systems that are going to help the government. The other issue, if you focus on the urban development, as the statistics tells us, The danger is that you'll abandon the peripheral and urban, the rural spaces. It is important, therefore, with confronting the current disaster that we're facing, think differently. You've got a ministry or department that says is a Department of Science and Technology, Innovation. What is happening with the gravel roads that are built in the rural places? As the rain falls, it washes the gravel out. It tells you need to have a different innovative way of thinking of building roads so that there should be an access to hospital, to schools and other services of government. And this is what we believe we need to enter into conversation about and differentiately looking in different municipal systems in the Republic with a different assistance.
I think tonight provides us with that opportunity to really delve into those issues to see where the president's focus as far as the mandate is concerned. Let me thank you so much for your time. Be available to speak to us in this special broadcast here in Cape Town Parliament. Thank you so much for your time.
And thank you very much also for giving us the opportunity to air the views and mostly of those who are more interested on local government to make it work.
Thank you so much.
Establishment, and not only the beneficiaries, the families which are depending on the beneficiary under this establishment. For the government to form many establishments like Atrium Boutique Hotel through the funding, I'm grateful that this funding help many families. It gives them independence, it gives them dignity, it gives them hope. For the hired people who know nothing about management, but nowadays they can manage this establishment, and with that skill they can go and be able to open their own businesses wherever. And what is the source of these skills which they're getting from the Atrium Boutique Hotel? It is from the government. Job creation, what the government is pushing, it's because they want to give human being dignity. And with this kind of fundings, whereby establishment like Atrium Boutique Hotel is here and existing, it has given dignity to somebody. And somebody who's employed has hope. And when a person has hope, they have plans. They plan about their life, they plan about the future, they plan about tomorrow. During State of the Nation address, the issue of job creation should be emphasized, should be a priority, because when people are employed, their dignity is restored. They feel valuable, they feel respected, they feel honored, and the dignity is sustained. I would like our president to empower the youth so that they can have stability, they can have growth, they can be well trained, they can be well equipped, they can be wired to take hold of South Africa of the future and lead it for greater financial and economic growth.
Welcome back to our broadcast on Goza TV. And what we're seeing right now in terms of the front of the City Hall, where the State of the Nation address will be delivered, is actually the Navy Band, and they're keeping people busy with their musical rendition there. And we're also seeing arrival of various guests that would be ministers who are members of parliament. We're also seeing that because this is a joint sitting of the two houses of parliament, which is the National Assembly, as well as the National Council of Provinces. So we will be seeing a variety of those dignitaries arriving as we go on with our broadcast. And in studio now, I'm joined by the vivacious Happy Kumalo, Mangidi Kumalo from Proudly SA, as well as designer Steven van Heerden. And to both of you, you normally come to the State of the Nation address to really promote local fashion and show this flair. So starting with you, Happy, if you can just tell us how this partnership started with Parliament.
So it started 4 years ago, and back then we were very ambitious. And the reception was very lukewarm because I don't think our objective was understood at the time. But it's great to look back and see the journey we walked together with Parliament TV, where we're using this spectacle, I call it, as a platform to speak to those who have the buying power. We all know that the guests who are invited here, the parliamentarians, the guests who are invited here, can dig deeper into their pockets. And also, we are just simply saying to them they would have bought outfits anyway. And we know that the Sona State of the Nation address is serious business, but we had to add a bit of flair, a bit of aromat, and look at and look at the fashion, because we know that generally the Sona is known for fashion. And in a nutshell, we were saying to the guests they must redirect the rand they could have spent at the Diamond Walk-in Centre, redirected to local designers, not because shame, but because they great creative, they've got great creative minds. And also, you know, that they must make their purchasing decision in favor of locally manufactured clothing.
So, Stephen, as a local designer, I mean, how do you feel about the industry currently, and how do you think this activation actually just helps to really create awareness and to give brand extension to a brand like yours?
I think the industry at the moment there's a turn, a positive turn. I think I've been walking along a road with Proudly SA, and it was great to be part of an initiative like the Local Fashion Police, where you're not actually just sitting from afar and judging, but you're actively promoting that people should be wearing local. And not only politicians or parliamentarians or the guests of parliament, but everybody out there should be supporting somebody local, be it a local seamstress or tailor or somebody that's knitting or anybody that's contributing or creating a job. And I think there's definitely a cusp. There's a positive turn towards that, and people are actually proud to be wearing local. I think it's like Happy said, it's not a shame moment. It's actually like, you know what, I'm taking matters into my own hands. I want to make the economy benefit. I want to wear something local, and something that's also beautifully made locally is actually so much better.
Thank you, Stephen. I really like how you actually outline the value chain, right, in terms of, you know, beneficiation. And Happy, just coming to your side, I mean, your mandate is to actually get everyone to buy everything local. And I'm also wearing something local,
nice.
a local designer. So, I mean, how have you seen this really contributing to the textile sector, because that is a sector that has been, going through ups and downs in terms of sustainability? Do you think that this kind of initiative will also propel that sector?
We can only hope so. We had to start somewhere. Somebody had to start somewhere and speak to the people whose voices are heard every day. Many of them are on radio, they are on television, they attend events and gatherings of importance. And we thought it's a low-hanging fruit for us to call them out if they don't do right by the economy. We all know that this industry is taking a bit of strain with the introduction of e-commerce giants like Temu and Shein. We have to fight harder, in helping our designers to claim their space. They can't do it alone. We have got to do it as a people, collectively. It's about creating jobs. Like Stephen rightfully says, it's more than just designing. It's a value chain. It's household. Mama Nomvula Mokonyana is wearing a beautiful locally made dress. She says she was making sure that she's retaining her crown from last year because she was the best dress. But the story that I liked from what she's wearing today, she says her dress was made by 11 people. All of them had a role in making her dress because it seems like it's a perlier. And I can attest to that because my dress was made by 8 ladies. These pearls were individually put in. Somebody was responsible in sourcing the zip, somebody the buttons, the pearls, the fabric, the cleaning of the item, the delivery of it. Those are jobs. This dress and hairs and many other outfits out here that are made locally managed to put a loaf of bread on somebody's table for them to be able to feed their families. Employment gives dignity. Employment starts to deal with some of the social ills we are struggling with as a country. And it starts with something as small as making a conscious decision that your purchasing decision is in favor of a local product.
Okay, thank you to both of you. I'd just like your parting shots around your expectations for Sona 2026.
Gosh, I think there's going to be a lot of positive change.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear what the president has got to say, and obviously also because they focusing on the garment and textile industry, that they pledging to put funds towards it, to put their money where their mouths are.
I'm hoping to hear the president touch on a strategy of some sort to save some of our factories, because those are jobs. Him focusing on youth unemployment, because this economy has to be carried by somebody. I'm hoping for our economy to be revitalized, if you agree, to be revitalized, for unemployment to be looked into with a fine-tooth comb, because in my view, unemployment is a tragedy waiting to happen for our country.
Thank you to both of you, and to our viewers. We will now be crossing over to an insert reflecting on provision of water. South Africa recently completed its project on the Lesotho Highlands Water Project in partnership with our neighboring country, Lesotho. And now we'll be looking at a recent visit that Water Minister Phemi Majodina undertook to Lesotho. Over to the insert.
Lesotho Highlands Water Project. Currently, we are getting water through the Katse Dam, which is phase 1. We are getting water as South Africa. What is also important in Katse 1, there is a clause there where there is a diversion of water that is put aside for Free State as well as Eastern Cape when there is dire need, when there is a lot of drought. On this side where we are now is a factory where they manufacture these segments, the segments that go through that tunnel, the 38-kilometer tunnel. This has also created jobs. 16,000 jobs has been created, and more jobs are still going to be created as we move forward with the project. We are very much happy.
The Department of Water and Sanitation aims to enhance water resource management by initiating infrastructure projects to secure water supply and diversifying water sources to reduce dependence on surface water. Water being such a major challenge in our country, this is actually answering to the need of our people just to have water. Bulk water projects are under construction across the country to improve water supply to millions of residents in villages, towns, and cities. The Lesotho Highlands Water Project, which is going to invest up to 40 billion rand, is now in progress.
So that's why we are here. It's fascinating, I must say, to be in the kingdom of Lesotho. Post-democracy, South Africa and Lesotho started to construct a project of this nature for sustainability, but also for economic growth and importantly, to ensure that our communities are able to enjoy water that gives right to life and that sustain lives of our people. So we really appreciate their generosity, but also ensure that we share economic spin-offs as countries, as water is an important ingredient to stimulate economic activity.
Brought to you by the GCIS.
Welcome back to our broadcast, and now we can see that there is going to be more arrivals. We're expecting that now. I think it's 18:14, almost 6:15, and we will be expecting the arrivals of the premiers from the various provinces. However, we are continuing with our interviews in studio. Tali, you may introduce our guest.
As usual, we're excited because today, not only we're talking about local government, we're talking to business, we're talking about border security. Quite an important element. It has to be youth empowerment as well, that we're expecting but the president to also look at that. It's been a number of issues that has been raised as far as economic emancipation of the youth is concerned, young women, the issue of also people with disability as well. There's been a number of those conversations. So what can the president also be mentioning tonight? We'll be looking forward to that as well. So we're quite excited that in studio now, Dr. Sancha Miene, she's the executive chairperson of the National Youth Development Agency. Thank you so much for joining us here in Parliament. Tonight, I'm sure that you're going to be looking in keen interest where the president is going to focus on. There's been a number of programs already, just in terms of your expectation from the onset.
Thank you very much for having me. I think my expectation is going to be on youth development, obviously. And we have two reasons why we think that the State of the Nation address should be around youth. Because firstly, us as young people are the majority in the country. And secondary to that, youth unemployment is a ticking time bomb for the country. Youth unemployment has become a crisis. Every other day, young people are standing in corners, they're found in taverns, and because they're unemployed. So we really think and urge the president to center his State of the Nation address around that. On yesterday, we had an engagement where young people were engaging with the deputy president, raising their issues. Young people from Western Cape have raised issues of crime, that their businesses are being subjected to extortion. So we need the president to be able to speak on those particular issues, to say young people, we're funding them as the NYTA, but young people can't even advertise their businesses because they're afraid of being extorted by criminals in the Western Cape. So those are some of the issues that we really want the president to speak about. But also as an agency, we're advancing the notion of a skills revolution in the country, where we think that there's a need for upskilling the youth in the country, but also skilling them in the relevant sectors. Yes, skills training have been rolled out, but we do need a skills revolution where we're going to have a critical and honest conversation as a country to say the skills that we have as a youth, are they relevant or not? Do we have young people in the mining and the energy space? If not, what is it that we're going to do? And as this particular generation, we're not apologetic and we're not waiting anymore for anything. Today, the president must be intentional and meaningful towards the things that he's going to pronounce on us as young people. And we're declaring this year as the Year of the Youth. You would know that this year is the 50th Jubilee of the 1976 uprising. So we want more to be around us as young people in the country.
We're talking to you as the recently appointed board right now. You have hit the ground running. Already reached 100 days in office already?
Yeah.
How do you reflect on that and some of the milestone programs that you already started that are starting to bear fruits and some of the continuation of NYDA programs?
So the first thing when we entered into office as a board, we spoke about inclusivity, but also we also spoke about including young people from rural areas and township areas, where the agency over time has been regarded as an agency for particular cohort of young people, those that can speak big English. The NYDA has been found in Sentin and now we're taking the NYDA to the rural areas and townships. That is why yesterday when we had an engagement with the Deputy President, we took it to Kailicha. We could have had it in some fancy hotel in Camps Bay or in Cape Town anyway, but we took it to the township because that's where young people are at. So that's the first thing that we did. But also in our quest of inclusivity, It is for the first time that the NYDA, all youth political party formations are found at the NYDA. If you're at our engagement yesterday with the Deputy President, you had your MKP youth present, you had the EFF present, you had the DA present, with the NC present. Because us as young people, we have gathered and said that we're going to speak under one voice. Because if you're unemployed, whether you're coming from ANC or you're DA, you're Action SA, you're unemployed. And that's the reality of our young people on the ground. So it's issues of inclusivity, issues of accessibility of the agency, its products and services. And when we got into office, we also spoke about accessibility of our service or products and services for persons with disability. Because some of our offices over time were not accessible for persons with disability. If you're not in a wheelchair, you're not able to access our offices. So inclusivity, access has been our priority. It's been 6 months in office. So those are the things that we have done thus far.
Okay. Dr. Sunshine, I mean, we're looking at the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative, right? And we've seen the kind of relief that it has brought to young people who've been placed in schools, and also partnership with the YES program. How much do you think business can actually contribute to this bold goal that, that you've just announced in the Year of the Youth? What would be your call to action for business?
I think private sector and business, they need to play a critical role in terms of addressing issues that are facing young people in South Africa. For example, if you're speaking about jobs, government is not going to be able to employ all of us. They don't have the capacity to do that. So business needs to come on board in terms of increasing jobs that are available for young people. That's the first thing. But also funding youth initiatives. They need to come on board on that. We're grateful for the President for the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative, but it needs to scale up. But when we were lobbying for the scale up, they were told of funds. So we urge private sector and business to bring more funds on board. But also we must be able to ensure that as a country, our economy grows. But in order for the economy to grow, we must be able to attract investors. So that is why we were saying issues of crime must be dealt with, because issues of crime, they scare away investors. So that's why we're calling the President that on top of his priority after youth development must be issues of crime that must be dealt with in our country. So it's those issues that we like private sector and business to focus on.
Okay, I think you've clarified your call to action in terms of what your expectations are for the President. You really want him to look at youth unemployment, addressing that demographic dividend, but also really getting young people out of social ills, and this could be crime, this could be substance abuse. So we want to thank you for your time with us today on Goza TV. We're also joined in live, because this is a simulcast broadcast with community radio stations across the country. So if you could just wrap up for us in any language of your choice.
It might be Zulu as well.
Obviously, it will be Zulu.
Yes. And just ukuthi uchaze kancane ukuthi what is it that you expect uPresident ukuthi I announce for abantu abasha?
Okusemqoka kuthina as the National Youth Development Agency is into yokuthi uPresident into yamathuba omsebenzi must be at the center of the discussion of the speech today. The issue yabantu abasha yokuthi issues of substance abuse, issue yobugebengu la esihlala khona njengabantu abasha must be addressed, must be at the center of it. Into enye ebalekile semqoka kuthina is issues of gender-based violence that are affecting young women in our communities. Ukungabi khona kweyidingo zabantu, like service delivery, which is a concern. Mamanzi engekho, ugesi ungekho, the people that are suffering the most or that bear that much pressure is young people, and young women to be specific. So we really want issues of service delivery to be fixed, issues of youth unemployment to be addressed. And this time around, we do not want gig jobs. We want sustainable and decent jobs. We do not think asicabanga ukuthi abantu abasha mangangile esikoleni ngayofunda ngine master's degree I must be subjected to sweeping the streets. That is not fair. We're devaluing our qualifications and our education that every other day we're advancing for. So okusemqoka kuthina ukuthi uPresident address ama issues abantu abasha. Noma uPresident engakushiya okunye kodwa abantu abasha eba addressile kuzobe thina abantu abasha sebesijabulile.
I think now we are going to also, as we conclude this conversation on the youth, one of the things that's talking about sustainability is the issue of electricity as well. We want to specifically give you this report that's specifically looking at electricity in the South African population and many communities as well.
To stabilize the performance of Transnet and reform our logistics system, Working closely with business and labor, we have established dedicated teams to turn around 5 strategic corridors that transport our goods for export purposes. The number of ships waiting to berth at the Port of Durban, which has experienced severe congestion in recent months, has reduced from more than 60 ships in mid-November to just 12 ships at the end of January. Now, that represents progress. Transnet has appointed an international terminal operator to help expand and improve its largest terminal at the Port of Durban.
Brought to you by the GCIS.
Cast on Goza TV, as well as the simulcast on community radio stations, and one of them is Mudiri FM. And we are joined in studio by Major Bapela from the military police, and he will be assisting me and Tali, really commentating and explaining all the ceremonial elements that will be taking place today.
Absolutely. What we are seeing right now, a number of activities happening behind us, because where we are stationed right now, it's really just outside of our parliament as we know it right now in terms of all the proceedings. If you can just take us through in terms of what we are seeing right now on our screen, and if for those who are at home wondering, different colors, different formations, you can just take us through that.
Yeah, what you see here now is the National Ceremonial Guard. They are going to give the salute to the president. And then they are wearing green, and the rifles that are carrying, we call them the 303 rifles. They were used during the First and the Second World War, but now they are used for ceremonial. And then the ones in red, that group in red, it's a band that plays the music. The music that you hear in the background is the band, the guys in red.
As we see the band in red, I mean, how is the music selected for the State of the Nation address?
If you can listen to the music that they play local music, in solidarity with the local artists of our country. So they choose the music, it's not to commercialize the music or to advertise it. They just to get acquainted with the music so that the audience, like the people who are not in the military, can see that we are also the citizens of South Africa.
And I think now we're hearing a bit of aircraft in the air, but I don't think it's yet the time for that, for us to actually get into explaining this fly past, because there are different ceremonial elements tied to the State of the Nation address. And I just would like you to maybe explain to us what is the importance of adding these ceremonial elements.
When you say ceremonial elements, you mean because everything that is happening is a ceremonial element, like from the National Ceremonial Guards, from the bikes of the military police. The bikes of the military police, the first escort is for the deputy president, which is comprises of 10 motorcycle riders. It's the major in front, which is going to be the leader, or say the commander of the group. Then the 2 motorbike riders. Then the second one is the third one is 3 of them, and the fourth one is 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in the 10 in number. And the army, it's army element. Then the president is comprised of 28 motorbikes. The commander is a lieutenant colonel, which is Lieutenant Colonel Khare from the military police. And then the second row is warrant officers, which is the warrant officer of the army, warrant officer of the Air Force, and warrant officer of the Navy. Then the 8 motorbikes that will be behind the warrant officers, it will be the Army NCOs, which are going to be 8. And then the second 8 is going to be the Air Force NCOs. Then the last 8 is going to be the Navy NCOs. And the total number is 28.
I'm always curious around this time in terms of this is happening in the Western Cape. Just looking at the amount of officials from different ranks deployed for this assignment, are they all from coming from the province, coming from different structures everywhere in the country? Because we are all here descending to the Western Cape for this important national occasion as well.
You see, what you see here, every single member, every individual who's wearing uniform has a specific task. All of them. Nobody can do what the other person cannot do. But if you look at the guys that are hoisting the flags, to you, you look at this, it's a simple task. But it's a parade, it's a drill on itself. And the guys that are riding the motorbikes, the guys that are playing the drums, the trumpet, the guys that make sure that there's a red carpet to the parliament. So every individual that you see here, they have a specific task, and they come from all the corners of the country, all the 9 provinces.
That is definitely fascinating. And now what we're seeing on our screen is one of the military men in green marching. And do we at any point now expect any arrival of the Deputy President or the President?
The Deputy will be the first one to arrive, then followed by the President. So the person that you see there behind is a warrant officer. He's an RSM. We call them RSM, meaning the Regimental Sergeant Major of this unit, called NCG, the National Ceremonial Guards.
So at this point, we do take it that the dignitaries are already in the house, Dali?
Already seated inside, because what we saw through the red carpet proceeding has already concluded, which was colorful as well. We saw a number of people from MPs. We saw also the judiciary in their roles and colors, quite decorated here. But also we saw a number of South Africans who play various roles. We call them celebrities. Some of the officials that we have seen to have accustomed them to different cultural activities as well. So now we are going to go to the floor now, because we're seeing that the band is already busy with other activities as well.
Yeah, what you see now is a Navy band. If you can be observant, every year we have four bands, as we have 4 different services. We have the Army, we have the Air Force, the Navy, and the South African Military Health Services. So every year, last year it was Air Force, Europe 7. This year is the Navy. Next year might be the South African Military Health Services or the South African Army. So they rotate. And coming also to add on the ceremonial, you asked about the ceremonial. There's what we call street lining, or where the president and the deputy are going to drive through. Those street lining, they are there to salute the president and the deputy president. And behind them, there's what we call the protection platoon or company, comprised of the 15 Provost Company of the military police. They are from Victoria. So they are in protection of the street lining, which is protecting the president and the deputy president. And then they are, the street lining I'm talking about is the army first that comes with the army band. Then they are followed with the South African Air Force with the Air Force band. Then the Navy with the Navy band. Then lastly South African Military Health Services with their band.
I'm now curious in terms of, we're going to go now just to listen to some of that work that is being on display. In terms of preparation for this, does it happen outside of the venue before we arrive in here in the Western Cape, or everything rehearsals happen right on the floor?
What you see there is a band. This is what they do daily. So they rehearse, they practice, and like that's what they do daily. So the rehearsals, they happen from day one. Here they come here and then they rehearse every day. So that's their daily break. It's like a soccer player. Soccer player, we see them playing on weekends, but during the week they train, they practice, they do everything. That's what they do. And then if you can listen, they play the renditions of the local songs.
I will have to listen to our famous Amapiano and see if it's featured there as well. It says, we want to see the culture, because we're always, excited to hear some of the music we can relate to. We spoke about the youth element as well. So you take all the musical elements. You don't discriminate in terms of what kind of music there is there.
Yes, all the genres. All the genres of music. It's just that we are far from the street line. You could have heard even the Amapiano songs played by the bands.
Because the reality is that the military has young people as well. So I do think that they would bring in that kind of element, because they want to be represented in the music.
Remember, the military is one of the institutions that needs to be sustained. So we rejuvenate every year with the new recruits, which are the young recruits. So that's why it has that element of youth, and then also we need to know that we have young people. They come with the new ideas, and so sustainability will always be there.
It's very critical. And I just want to give a shout out, Sally, to Makado FM, Likoa FM, Akhanang, Dili FM, Basha, and Radio Pulpit, Nongoma FM, Impact, and Metsimaholo FM. Those are joining us. This is a simulcast broadcast, so we've got those community radio stations also listening in. So Ntate Bapela, we would also like you, if it's possible, for how ka subukanya ka Setswana kana Sepedi, just to tlhalosa fela gore the importance of these elements tsa military tso go tlhalosetsa tsone.
Ge ke tlhalosa ka Setswana ke gore these elements are military. They give respect to the president. Remember, president is the commander-in-chief of the South African National Defence Force, meaning we're talking about the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, and the Military Health Services. And also we have the reserve component of the military. So he's the commander-in-chief. So that is why everyone is gathered here to give also the respect to the president and homage to those who are serving in the borders, and also to those who we lost as well. So saying as well, everyone is welcome in the military. Everyone is welcome, and before my delegation, and then you are called, you join. Don't buy any form from anyone.
President ke ena commander-in-chief ka jalo gompieno masole ba tlile go motlotla tiro e ba e dirang o ntse o e tlhalosa ya army band kana le street lining e leng gore masole ba mo emetse, mme ba mo emetse mo tseleng ena le deputy president e dira gore re bontsha gore re motlotlo re le maAforika Borwa, re motlotlo ka naga ya rona, mme re tlhompha se e leng gore ke tiro e tlabe e dirwa ke parlamente, ke mopresidente le baetapele ba rona, mme re lebogile tlhaloso eo. Tali?
As ndi zwone musi ri tshi khou vhona mbekanyamushumo heyi i vha i tshi khou alusa mupresidennde zwa vhukuma, u vhona uri mupresidennde ndi ene muthu muhulwane kha Afrika Tshipembe, uri ri khou muhulisa na vharangaphanḓa vhoṱhe vha Afrika Tshipembe. Ndi tshifhinga tshine ho rali masole vha kha mihasho yo fhambanaho vha vha khou sumbedza uri ri vho nnyi, ri khou zwi sumbedza uri na zwine ra zwi kona ndi zwifhio. So it's really good to see South Africa in display in all its colors as well.
Definitely, I totally agree with you. And I think the State of the Nation address every year is really a moment of pride for all South Africans. And we know that at 7 o'clock tonight, South Africans will be glued, to the screen. And also joining us here on Goza TV. Remember our hashtags, hashtag Sona 2026, hashtag GovZA updates, and hashtag Goza TV. Please join us online, subscribe, comment, and like. We'd really also like to hear your views and your feedback around your own expectations for the Sona, what the president will definitely outline in just a few minutes. We are at 18:39, so just short of 20 minutes, Dali.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We just to acknowledge Radio TEF Live, Pahlele FM in Limpopo, Osis FM in the Eastern Cape, Bloomberg FM in Limpopo. We also have SK FM listening to us, Impact Radio 103 in Gauteng. Thank you so much. Nongoma in KZN, and Moholo FM in the Free State. Radio Pulpit in Gauteng also joins us for this important broadcast for the country, and also Mbeshe FM in the Eastern Cape as well. The number of radio stations who have joined us here, including Ubuntu Radio as well, is broadcasting all over the African continent as well.
Tete Mapela, we're seeing, it looks like we're moving to the airspace now. And we're also seeing visuals that are sort of moving towards the podium. And we see movement. Yes, Sally?
It looks like the arrival of the Deputy Speaker, if I'm not mistaken. That's the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly arriving.
I guess we then expect that the Speaker is likely to follow. And then we'll see that podium group that will assemble in a short while.
All the attention now as we see right at the entrance of this important gathering, where the program is almost about to start. The formalities and the arrival of the Deputy President, but also we are seeing what's happening in the air as well. A number of activities. So we're going to see what sort of proceeding we're going to see. We're always just keeping busy looking at the skies, and something is going to appear. What are we going to see first? Because are we going to see rainbow colors? What are we going to see? South African colors? Or we're going to see the fly past as we normally have?
The fly past usually happens when the president is on the pulpit, on the podium.
Aha.
Yeah, so when he's on the podium, then that's when you see the fly past. And also those colors.
I think the coordination thereof, it always triggers me. It intrigues me. That's the word. In terms of where are they right now? Are they in Venda right now? Are they in Mutsemoholo? Where are they? The timing is just so perfect that they wait for the president, or they are somewhere in Neisner. I don't know. You may advise us. How does the planning happen?
They're in Makado.
Makado?
Yes.
Ah.
So. No, what you call, I don't know if you understand the word synergy.
Yes.
So everything is coordinated.
To the T.
Yeah, and then the precision of it as well, and the timing. In the military, we respect time more than anything. So the timing must be the exact. So if we say we synchronize our watches, your watch can be 2:30, ours can be 2:15. But we synchronize it. We are going to work on our time.
And I think, Tata Bapela, we just saw those motorbikes that you were speaking about earlier on, and now we're seeing a car that's going to drop off. Dali, I think we should be able to get a view of who's now going to be arriving very shortly.
Were there motorbikes?
Yes, there were motorbikes.
Then this should be the Deputy President.
Seems that this is the second lady, Mr.
Absolutely,
Mapela.
yes.
Yep. There's the Deputy President arriving now. He's on the red carpet, greeting the Deputy Speaker.
And officials from Parliament as well. Part of the protocol team and the arrival.
I think this signals that we are counting down to the minutes of the State of the Nation address as those arrivals are imminent.
So as it stands, the Deputy President, it goes straight to inside the assembly, to the chambers as it is. And then in terms of the proceeding, before we take all the program.
Yes. You must remember the parliament is like the military. So you wait for the dignitary, which is the president. Everybody will wait for him. So that's why he's the last one to enter the precinct.
What you have right now in your visuals is the arrival of the Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, and also Ms. Mashatile arriving and just been ushered inside the assembly, where the President will deliver the State of the Nation address. In a few minutes' time, we'll be starting to see the arrival as well. As we have it, dignitaries already taken to their seat, and we wait for the arrival of the head of states.
Tali, it seems there's likely to be an arrival coming soon. I think cars will be approaching very soon. We're just waiting for that moment of that arrival very shortly. You can even see that now the streets look very empty and clean as opposed to earlier on when there was a lot of movement. So it's very clear that as the State of the Nation address comes to a close, that area is really cleared so that we're able to see what is going to happen in terms of the arrivals.
Earlier, you were asking about the aircraft that was flying past. It was not a fly past. It's for security. They are the ones that coordinate with the guys on the ground, saying there's a lot of movement. Limit the movement because the president will be arriving soon. So they look at it and they tell whoever is responsible for the security to tell them that clear the streets, clear everyone where the president is going to pass.
So this is part of this coordination and the synergy that you're talking about, really, within the justice cluster, the military, the police, all working together.
Yes, all the security cluster, precisely. They work together like in coordination.
And just to ensure that we do have a State of the Nation address where all the dignitaries are safe and all the ceremonial elements are fully respected.
Precisely.
Dali, there's the
I'll wait for the advice. It does seem like it's not the one.
No, it's not.
And then it really begs a number of questions for me in terms of if we're looking at other countries. I mean, in America, you do have the State of the Union address. South Africa, you do have the State of the Nation address as well. Do you benchmark yourself and say, oh, we have done this way, other countries are doing this, or South Africa holds its own and say, we're going to stick to our tradition and what we have done? Do you tweak things? Do you change things as in year progresses and change that? No, maybe we're going to enter by a cycle or anything like that.
Remember, South Africa, we are a very unique country.
Yes.
We don't benchmark.
Okay.
Many countries benchmark from us. Remember, which other country have a rainbow nation? It's us. With which other country have 11 languages, official languages? 12 now, we've added the 12th one. It's us, so we don't benchmark. What we're doing now, it has been done since the start of what you call the government of South Africa. It's just that now it's been modernized, but it has been like this all the years. Even if before most of us could join the military, it was done like that. And there's been the military police every year that escorts the president. We used to have our horses, but now we are using the SAPS equestrian unit. You'll see them when they enter. It will be the motorbikes of the military police. Then it will be the equestrian.
Equestrian, can you explain that? Yeah.
The horses.
Okay.
The mounted. They'll be on horses.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Okay. We just saw a military, should I say, a helicopter of the military. Is it one of those special aircrafts that South Africa has? Maybe if you can explain. I don't think it doesn't look like an Oryx to me, but I stand to be corrected. I don't know if you got the visuals of that aircraft.
It is an Oryx. It is used by the South African Air Force. Yeah. Usually, if you see the Oryx, it's one that it's used to like when there are floods in Mozambique. Like now, it was used in Mozambique for the floods in Mpumalanga, in Limpopo as well, for to save people. So it is the Oryx that is flying. So the president is coming now. He's been escorted. You see, these are the 28 bags that I was telling you about. The in front is Lieutenant Colonel Khare, leading all the services, which is the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. Then behind them is Equestrian, the mounted unit of the South African Police Services.
Now we see soldiers in salute. Are you able to explain to us what is their ranking?
The one that is opening the door, usually they are the captains.
Okay.
Yeah, the other one is opening for the First Lady and the other one is opening for the President. And then on the steps, there's what we call we call those guys, there are 8 of them, 2 per service, which is the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, and military health, South African military health services. They are going to salute the President. We call them the step platoon. Hence, they stand on the steps. When the President enters, I mean, getting on the podium.
Yeah, what we are seeing now, the arrival of President Ramaphosa for this State of Nation address received by the Speaker of the National Assembly, Toko Didiza. We're seeing also the Chairperson of Council of Provinces as well, when she's there. You also have Secretary of Parliament, a number of dignitaries and officials from Parliament receiving the President and the First Lady for this important occasion for the country, and exchange of pleasantries. I'm sure the conversation there, you want to be a fly on the wall to really listen to the receiving that conversation. But what looks a proudly South African moment, where I'm sure he's also getting a briefing in terms of how the process will go, where the President will have to stand, isn't it?
Yes. Usually they brief him to say, okay, President, everyone is here. The only person who's not here might be this and this, so that in his speech maybe he might mention that maybe Minister so-and-so is not here, whether maybe he or she's sick or in hospital. So things like those maybe. Like you saw the premiers when they entered, there were 8. One of them is not there, but you couldn't see who's not there.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another salute. I think this one is for the podium group. Also, are they also sergeants, the ones that just saluted the podium group?
The 2 in front are the colonels, full colonels. They are going to escort the President to the podium. They are going to stand side by side. The other one will be on the left, the other one will be on the right, and they'll salute him. And also when he comes, they'll escort him until to the door of the Parliament.
And we saw highly decorated officials there as well. Quite interesting to see. Is it the honors? You also have the same in terms of we're seeing with a number of the medals on the side here. If you care to explain.
What you see those 2 colonels were wearing those lanyards.
Yes.
When you escort the head of state, or if you escort a diplomat, that's the attire that you should wear. You wear your uniform and those lanyards to show that. Usually we call them the military attachés or the defense attachés.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now we see the march, and it seems, Tali, as if looks like the podium group
Yeah.
is going to go there, and then there should be the singing of the national anthem.
Absolutely. What we are seeing now, the president walking to take his position and receiving a number of honors. That's where we also now will look in the sky, isn't it? And
Yes.
the band is all we're going to hear all the that was prepared as part of this important program.
Yeah. When the national anthem plays, there'll be a fly past, which is it will be the Hawk 120. It will fly from northeast to the southwest.
Let's take to the podium right now.
And what we hear now is the 21 gun salute. There'll be 21 of them.
Now we're seeing the podium group retreating and making their way into the house.
President Cyril Ramaphosa there just receiving honors, concluding receiving those honors, now being ushered into the chambers of parliament as we have it now, accompanied by the Speaker of Parliament, together with the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, and the President heading inside.
And I heard the praise singer this year will be from the Kwe Nation.
Yes, I think she's from the Northern Cape, and Parliament did explain earlier that she is going to actually be doing this praise in her native language. I think it's Namte, the language in which she will be doing her role as the Imbongi. We know that the Imbongi is also part of a tradition at Sona, Dali, and I think we've had various Imbongis from various tribes, and this is part of just really showing the diversity of nations, languages, and cultures in South Africa.
Absolutely. We have just recently also, not long ago, recognizing sign languages as well. So you are seeing that the country that is on the move.
And now we're seeing visuals inside the sitting. We can see the Deputy President Paul Mashatile. We can also see the Minister
of the National Assembly.
And now
Chairperson of the
the
National
podium
Council
group
of
is
Provinces,
entering
President of the
House.
Republic of South Africa,
As we're heading over to Parliament now, as the praise singer is already on the podium right now. Let's listen in. We're heading over to the proceeding where the President will deliver the State of the Nation Address 2026.
Across to the various community radio stations. Remember to continue with us. Hashtag Sona 2026, hashtag Goza TV, hashtag GovZA update. And Tali, thank you for being a great co-host and calling it an evening.
Now we hand you over to the Parliament where we'll listen to the President delivering the State of the Nation Address this year. And let me thank you so much for taking us through Major Vapela for this important occasion for the country.
The pleasure is all mine, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Order, honorable members. There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer and meditation. Please be seated. Honorable members, we will try next time to add just 1 minute so that we can finish the prayers and meditation. Would like to thank our praise singer, and very importantly, that this year is the 30 years of our Constitution, and she gave the poem in Kuntail language, which recognizes the importance of the Khoi and the San members of our society. Honorable members, the leaders of our political parties who are here present with us in the gallery, our former heads of state, our former presiding officers who are here, our First Lady, the judiciary, the premiers of our provinces, the speakers, and all honored guests that have been invited by Parliament to grace this important occasion where we would be listening to the State of the Nation Address. Would like also to acknowledge our members at home who are watching these proceedings online. Honorable members, the President has called this joint sitting of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces in terms of Section 84, subsection 2D of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, read with Joint Rule 13, subsection 1, subsection A, to deliver his State of the Nation address to Parliament. I now call on the Honorable the President, His Excellency Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, to address the joint sitting. Honorable President. Honorable members, may we be seated to allow the President to address the nation. Honorable President.
Speaker of the National Assembly, Ms. Togo Didiza, the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Ms. Refile Mtsweni-Tsipane, former President Kgalema Motlanthe, former Chairperson of the NCOP, Mr. Amos Masondo, former Chairperson of the NCOP, Dr. Naledi Pandor, Mayor of Cape Town, Alderman Jordan Hill-Lewis, he was nervous. He thought I wouldn't be able to pronounce his first name because it's wrongly spelled. Deputy Chief Justice Dunstan Mlambo, Chairperson of the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders, Khosi Thabo Siatlulo, Isithwalandwe, Mayor Sophie de Bruyn, President of Contralesa, President of Contralesa, Khoshi Mutupa Mukwena, Members of Parliament, Premiers of our provinces, fellow South Africans. 70 years ago, thousands of women of all races marched to the Union buildings, their hearts beating with a common purpose. Armed with extraordinary cunning and resolve, these women braved police checkpoints and harassment. In a voice loud and clear, they said, "We shall not rest until we have won for our children their fundamental rights of freedom, justice, and security." We recall the powerful image of Lillian Ngoyi, Helen Joseph, Sophie de Bruyn, and Rahima Musa, carrying armfuls of petitions to lay at the doorstep of a prime minister who did not dare to meet them. Every petition they handed over carried the weight of justice. Each of the 100,000 signatures they had collected expressed a desire for freedom and equality. For 30 minutes, the 20,000 women stood on the steps of the amphitheater of the Union buildings in silence, not singing, not moving, not speaking. The powerful imagery of these women standing in silence illustrated their resolve and their commitment to bring change about. Their silence reflected the deep emotional pain and frustration born out of systemic apartheid oppression. Their silence showcased the sorrow and the anger that these women felt in their fight for justice and equality. Their silence was long enough to be unsettling to the apartheid officials who were watching them. In that quiet moment, they showed the world that it is not the shouts of anger, but the stillness of determination that moves mountains. After the silence came the singing of the now eternally famous chant that has gone down in our struggle history, symbolizing the powerful role played by women in the struggle against apartheid. They chanted, "Watinta bafazi, watinti mbogodo." Translated, it means you strike a woman, you strike a rock. It is said that the women's chant rolled down the terraces of the union buildings, turning the seat of state power into a stage of protest, where courage meets authority. This evening, we are honored to have amongst us Mam Sophie de Bruyn, one of the leaders that marched and a stalwart of our struggle for freedom. She and many other women who have made enormous sacrifices in our struggle for freedom remind us that women have always been at the forefront of change, ready to stand up, to be counted, to speak out, and never back down in the fight for justice. To mark this anniversary, I'd like to ask you to rise and give a standing ovation to the women of South Africa who marched on the Union buildings in 1956.
We may be seated.
Mam Sophie de Bruyn, I can see where you are seated. Please stand up so that we can see you. It was 50 years ago, in that same spirit of defiance and struggle, that young people in Soweto walked out of school and marched towards Orlando Stadium to oppose the imposition of Afrikaans as a medium of instruction and the hated system of Bantu education. Their courage in the face of a brutally oppressive regime reverberated around the world and brought renewed attention to our struggle. The determination and sacrifices of the youth of 1976 and the generations of young people that would follow continue to inspire us. We thank the young people of 1976. "30 years ago, in 1996, in this very precinct, in the Houses of Parliament, the Constitutional Assembly adopted the text on which our democratic nation is founded. Our Constitution reflects the spirit of those women who marched in 1956, and the young people of 1976, and the many South Africans from all walks of life who fought for our freedom. It is a constitution that reflects the aspirations of the people of South Africa for a nation that is united and at peace, a nation that has thrown off the shackles of oppression and a divided past. It is a constitution that calls on us not only to redress the injustices of the past, but to progressively realize the right of all South Africans to housing, to health, to food, to water, to social security, to education, and to a better and prosperous life for all. Today, we must realize these aspirations in a world that is rapidly changing, a world in which narrow self-interest has replaced the common good, a world in which trade is used as an instrument of cohesion, a world in which might is right and the powerful impose themselves on the weak. To navigate this new world, we must draw on our strength as a nation. Our strength comes from our values, as articulated in our Constitution. The values of dignity, of equality, of non-racialism, non-sexism, diversity, and of the inherent worth of every person. It comes from our people. Our strength comes from our people, from our tolerance, from our generosity, kindness, and solidarity. It comes from our steadfast commitment to upholding the rights and affirming the dignity of people in our society who face prejudice and discrimination, including persons with disabilities and members of the LGBTQIA+ community. Our strength comes from our determination and resolve. It comes from our creativity and inspiration. As we navigate this new world, we must rely on that strength, the strength that comes from our natural endowments, from the minerals in our earth and the richness of our soil, from the beauty of our mountains and shores. Our strength comes from our institutions, which are robust, independent, and from the spirit of democracy and freedom that lives deep within all of us. Our strength and power comes from one another. It comes from what we can achieve when we work together. Our strength also comes from our respect for one another, even as we may differ on various issues. Our strength also comes from our sporting men and women who continue to lift the South African flag on the world stage and bring glory to our nation. Now, as we reflect on the state of our nation, we can say that we are stronger today than we were a year ago. Our economy is growing again, and this growth is gathering pace. While we have experienced 4 consecutive quarters of GDP growth, we know that it has to grow much higher and much faster to meet our social and economic challenges. We have achieved 2 consecutive primary budget surpluses. Our credit rating has improved. Interest rates are coming down, and inflation is at its lowest level in 20 years. We are on a clear path of stabilizing our national debt. The rand has strengthened against the dollar. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange, the largest stock exchange on the African continent, has performed exceptionally well over the past year. This growth reflects broader economic recovery, investor confidence, and increasing interest in South Africa's economy and equities. Our borrowing costs have been declining. Through Operation Vulindlela, we've made significant progress in accelerating economic reform and opening the way for investment competition. We have brought an end to load shedding and built a more dynamic and resilient energy system. We have made progress in improving the performance of our ports and freight rail lines, steadily increasing the volume of goods that we move and in and out of our country. We have restored our passenger rail system. More and more commuters are now able to travel to work on newly locally made trains, significantly reducing their traveling costs. We are investing across our country in roads, in bridges, in rail lines, in ports, in dams, and in solar farms. We have created over 2.5 million opportunities through the presidential employment stimulus, mainly for young people and women. The expanded works program and community work program continue to offer job opportunities to many throughout the country. Last year, we saw the highest matric pass rate in our history, with more than two-thirds. Now, with more than two-thirds of all bachelor passes coming from schools in the most disadvantaged communities. Now, as the economy continues to grow, the rate of unemployment must come down. By expanding our social protection system through the SRD grant, we have reduced the number of people living in food poverty. We are strengthening our anti-corruption laws. Our country has been removed from the grey list of Financial Action Task Team. We continue to make the progress that was difficult to make in previous years. The work we have done to rebuild key institutions from state capture is showing results. The South African Revenue Service is once again a world-class tax authority. The investigating directorate continues with its work and is making progress in the prosecution of those who need to be prosecuted. Most importantly, our democratic system is maturing. Our democratic system is maturing and growing stronger. The government of national unity, you will love this, has shown that it is possible for South Africans to come together from across the political spectrum to work on a common agenda for growth and progress. Last year, we hosted the leaders of the world for a successful G20 summit, which showcased our country's strength on the global stage. Confidence is rising amongst investors, business people, and consumers. Now, these improvements are the result of a determined effort across government and across society. They show what is possible when we work in unity and we work with unity of purpose. Now we have a unique window of opportunity to translate these gains into sustained growth. Despite this progress, we must be honest about the challenges that we still face. Although we are moving forward, we must not claim any easy victories. We are still far from where we need to be. For too many people, life remains hard. Jobs are scarce and opportunity is out of reach. South Africans are worried about violent crime and corruption. They are concerned at the state of local government and its inability to deliver basic services in many parts of the country. Above all, they are desperate for work and for an income to support their families. We can only be strong when we are equal. When the progress we have made fight organized criminals by treading softly, we must act with zero tolerance and bring the full force of the law to bear. And I'd like this message to be clear. There will be no impunity for acts of criminality and corruption. In addition to crime, water is now the single most important issue for many people in our country, from large cities like Johannesburg to smaller towns like Knysna and rural areas like Guyana. We have all seen the pain that our people have been expressing through demonstrations in various parts of Gauteng. Now, these protests have been fueled by the frustrations that our people are feeling over inadequate, unreliable access to basic services such as water. I have directed the Minister of Water and Sanitation and her deputy, as well as the Minister of Cooperative Governance, to attend to the water shortage problem and engage with our communities. Now, I can see you are excited. As we speak,
Order, honorable members. Can we please lessen our voices so that members can hear the message? Thank you.
as we speak, they are in Gauteng at the moment, engaging with our people, explaining to them precisely how government intends to immediately deal with the challenges that our people are experiencing. They have informed me that the pipes that had been damaged are being repaired and the reservoirs are filling up again. Now, this comes from poor planning, inadequate maintenance of water systems by many of our municipalities, and the main cause of the problems are now the reason why we are now having empty taps. There is no silver bullet to address this challenge, which has its roots in systemic failures and many years of neglecting infrastructure. To ensure water security is in the long term, we are building new dams, upgrading existing infrastructure. We have committed 156 billion rand in public funding for water and sanitation infrastructure over the next 3 years. The construction of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project and other large-scale projects like the Ntabelanga Dam, part of the Umzimvubu Water Project in the Eastern Cape, is advancing. And we are in the final stages of establishing a national water resource infrastructure agency to effectively manage the country's water infrastructure and mobilize funding for infrastructure. However, the real challenge lies not in the availability of water, but in getting water to people's taps. The Water Services Amendment Act, or bill, will enable us to hold water service providers accountable for their performance, and if they don't perform, to be able to withdraw their licenses if they do not deliver. If a municipality is not willing or able to provide a service to its residents, then it must be done by another structure that can do so. Now, these reforms will address the root causes of the water crisis. In the short term, we need to address the immediate crisis where water outages are being experienced right now. 3 years ago, when we were experiencing daily power cuts, we established the National Energy Crisis Committee to enable a focused national response. We overcame what seemed like an insurmountable challenge by adopting a clear plan and delivering on it. Using the same approach, we will now elevate our response to water crisis to a National Water Crisis Committee, which I will chair. The structure will bring together all existing efforts into a single coordinating body. The Deputy President has been working with a number of water authorities in the country, and we will coordinate all that to make sure that we address this problem. It will deploy technical experts and resources from national government to municipalities facing water challenges. It will ensure that action is taken swiftly and effectively to address the problem. To address the challenges effectively, we will not hesitate to use the powers that are enshrined in our Constitution and in the Water Services Act to intervene in municipalities where necessary. National government cannot stand by and believe that local government will be able to solve the problem which they are not able to solve. National government will therefore intervene. We will hold to account those who neglect their responsibility to supply water to our people. Government has already laid criminal charges against 56 municipalities that have failed to meet their obligations. We will now move to even lay charges against municipal managers for violating the National Water Act. The critical problem is that in many metros, in many of our cities and towns, water revenue is being used for other purposes, and very little is invested in upgrading and maintaining water infrastructure. To address this challenge, in line with the commitment that we made last year, we have introduced a new 54 billion rand incentive for metros to reform their water and sanitation electricity services. This will ensure that the revenue from water usage is put straight back into fixing pipes, into fixing reservoirs, and into pumping stations. Water outages are a symptom of a local government system that is not working. A far-reaching overhaul is now underway to address the root causes of dysfunction in many of our municipalities. In many places, local government administrations are weak, don't have the capacity, and are also governed by patronage rather than by technical capacity and merit. In her most recent report on local government, the Auditor General said, local government is characterized by inefficient accountability, failing service delivery, poor financial management and governance, weak institutional capability, and widespread instability. She says that arresting the decline of local government will require our collective action. We are now taking collective action. Learning from our experience of the past 30 years, we will, in the coming months, finalize a revised white paper on local government. This will provide solutions for the functioning of an effective local government system. The white paper will reimagine the way that our local government should work. The current system is too complex and fragmented, expecting even small and weak municipalities to take on many responsibilities. We will propose fundamental changes that recognize the reality that some municipalities can take on more functions than others, and that we need a differentiated approach to municipal powers and responsibilities. We're also proposing a more structured cooperation between municipalities and traditional and Khoisan leadership institutions to enable community engagement and shared problem solving. We will ensure that senior officials in local government have the required qualifications and are appointed through an independent process free from political interference. Where municipalities fail, we will strengthen the ability of national government to intervene more quickly and to direct corrective measures in the interest of serving our people better. These changes may be difficult, but they must be done. While these fundamental reforms are underway, we will continue to implement targeted support to improve the delivery of basic services through the presidential working groups on eThekwini and Johannesburg. While we have made progress in stabilizing eThekwini, which has led to investor confidence returning, there is much more that needs to be done in Johannesburg to deal with collapsing infrastructure, financial mismanagement, and electricity and water interruptions. The same applies to a few other metros in our country as well. There are many committed people with skills and experience working in local government. It is our responsibility to remake, reorganize, and better resource municipalities so that they can continue doing their work. As a country, we're increasingly vulnerable to extreme weather conditions. And just a few weeks ago, catastrophic flooding in Limpopo and Mpumalanga, as well as parts of KZN, caused the loss of a number of lives and widespread destruction of homes, schools, clinics, and other infrastructure. I visited Giyani, and where there were 16 houses, nicely built houses, as we arrived, it was just an open field. The houses had been washed away. It was like there were no houses ever before. The foundations, the roofs, and all that had been washed away. The classification of floods as a national disaster has enabled national and provincial government to prioritize funding to address the most pressing needs of the people who are affected. A stronger South Africa depends on a growing economy. For more than 15 years, our economy has experienced low growth. All our actions are now driven by the need for rapid and inclusive economic growth to create more jobs and to create, for that matter, better quality jobs. To give effect to the medium-term development plan, Cabinet has approved a comprehensive implementation plan to drive growth and inclusion. Through this plan, we are working to revive growth by creating conditions for firms or companies to invest by maintaining a clear and stable macroeconomic framework, investing in infrastructure that works, creating a conducive regulatory framework that supports growth and enables competition, and a focused and forward-looking industrial policy. The foundations of this plan is investment, particularly in public infrastructure, as well as labor-intensive growth sectors that are capable of future growth. Now, these include the digital and green economy, where young people will find employment opportunities. Infrastructure is much more than an investment in brick, mortar, concrete, and steel. It is an investment in jobs, in productivity, in growth. For many years, fixed investment has been declining. We are now changing all that. Government has committed more than 1 trillion rand in public investment over 3 years to build and maintain infrastructure. This is the largest allocation of its kind in our country's history, and it will be transformative. It will create jobs. Through the Infrastructure Fund and the new regulations for public-private partnerships, we are using innovative funding models, reducing risk and attracting investors to fast-track projects in energy, in water, in transport, and in the digital infrastructure. We launched our first ever infrastructure bond to raise funding for the infrastructure drive that we have embarked upon, which was more than 2 times oversubscribed, showing that when we have put our resolve forward and have put forward innovative ways of raising money, those with money, the private sector, do respond. Disputes arising from implementation of tenders often delay the implementation of necessary infrastructure. We often find that when an infrastructure project is about to be embarked upon, competitors start taking each other to court, and waiting for the long court process always delays the start of those projects. To prevent undue delays in critical projects, we will establish specialized courts for commercial matters with dedicated judges and dedicated court roles to ensure faster outcomes in matters that have a bearing on the economy and development. This will speed up the development of our infrastructure. This year, we will begin the work to establish a professional state property company to transform the 88,000 buildings and 5 million hectares of land owned by the state into professionally managed engines of growth and development. I see you like this one very much. I will repeat it. Now, through Operation Vulindlela, we are working to transform the structure of our economy, to fix our infrastructure, and make our electricity, water, and logistics sectors more competitive and more efficient. Having put load shedding behind us, we must now transform our energy system to ensure long-term energy security. For decades, our economy grew on the back of cheap electricity. But then state capture, mismanagement, inadequate maintenance, and inflated mega projects drove up the cost of electricity to businesses and to ordinary citizens. Now, with the far-reaching changes that we are making to the sector, and with our abundant solar and wind resources, we will be able to drive down the cost of electricity. Regulatory changes have enabled a massive and growing pipeline of investment in renewable energy. By 2030, more than 40% of our energy supply will be coming from cheap, clean, renewable energy sources. We are now establishing a level playing field for competition so that we are never again exposed to the risk of relying on a single supplier to meet our energy needs. We are restructuring Eskom and establishing a fully independent state-owned transmission entity, as I have said before. This entity will have ownership and control of transmission assets and be responsible for operating the electricity market. Given the importance of this restructuring for the broader reform of the electricity sector, I have established a dedicated task team under the National Energy Crisis Committee to address the various issues relating to the restructuring process, including clear timeframes for its phased implementation. The Minister of Electricity and Energy, Minister of Finance, and the Minister of the Presidency, and other ministers will all work together to make sure that we come up with clear proposals and timelines and how this will be phased in terms of implementation. This task team will report to me within 3 months. In addition, we will this year commence the first round of independent transmission projects to enable private investment in expanding our national grid. There has been tremendous interest. There's been tremendous interest in investments in our transmission process. We will work in each province to address transformer overloading, illegal connections, and equipment failure with the objective of eradicating load reduction by next year. We are committed to the path that we have embarked upon to modernize our energy system. We have begun to turn around the performance of our rail system and ports so that our businesses can get their products to global markets. We've now enabled private rail operators to access our network on a concessionary basis, which will now allow different rail companies to compete to move volumes from road to rail. Later this year, we will initiate major public-private partnerships in our port terminals and rail corridors through a concession model that preserves public ownership by the state while mobilizing private investment and expertise. Last month, we concluded a partnership with an international port operator to manage the Durban Pier 2 container terminal, the largest in our country. Pier, you're right. This partnership, something good also comes from your side. This partnership will result in new investment in equipment and infrastructure at the port and will bring it back to world-class standards. We continue preparations for the introduction of high-speed rail in South Africa. I know you love this one. Now this, I've been saying that we would like this to cover initially routes such as Johannesburg and Musina and eThekwini to Johannesburg. Now, it often takes, high-speed trains are happening in many parts of the world. They have cut down the time of travel, and in my book, it should no longer take 5 to 6 hours to travel from eThekwini or Durban to Johannesburg, 4.5 hours from Johannesburg to Messina, when it can be done in a much shorter space of time. Our people want it, and progress is now being made. Nearly 30 companies indicated their willingness to participate in high-speed rail corridors when we put out the request for information last year. We are preparing to send out a request for proposals which will introduce a new era of long-distance rail travel in South Africa at a faster pace. We are determined to compete in a rapidly changing global economy. Our industrial policy focuses on areas where we have competitive advantage, where we can create jobs, and where we can drive up exports. Our trade policy is aimed at promoting sustainable development, growth, and strengthening our international partnerships. In a world where countries are looking to diversify their supply chains, we have an opportunity to ramp up our exports across the globe. We have a diverse economy, high-quality manufacturing facilities, and strong regulatory frameworks. We are strengthening our capacity for trade negotiations and expanding our missions abroad to drive economic diplomacy. Amid the turmoil in the global economy, we are supporting our established industries in the face of strong headwinds. We have moved to revive our ferrochrome industry and to protect jobs in our steel industry, in our automotive and other sectors which employ hundreds of thousands of South Africans in good quality jobs. Ministers are crunching the numbers on a daily basis, seeking to protect the jobs that could be lost through the decline of these industries that are now facing fierce competition. We are working with businesses and workers to close loopholes in our tariff structure and develop additional measures to protect and grow our manufacturing base. As we protect jobs in vulnerable industries, we remain focused on sectors that will drive future growth. We know that we can create millions of good quality jobs in sectors like agriculture, mining, and services industry, as well as in the green economy. These are areas where we can be more than competitive. We can be the best in the world. Our agricultural sector is expanding rapidly. Already we are the second largest exporter of citrus fruit in the world. We are opening new markets for our exports, from citrus to avocados to maize, livestock, grapes, and wine. Through the blended finance scheme, working with the Land Bank and the commercial banks, we have provided 7.8 billion rand in innovative funding for black producers. We will deploy 10,000 new extension officers to support farmers and to improve agricultural productivity. This will give rise to many opportunities for young people to be employed in the agricultural sector. I saw how this works extremely well. In Ethiopia, in the agricultural sector, which was really the worst sector, they employed 40,000 or so extension officers who support farmers. And all of a sudden, agriculture has now become the best performing sector in their economy. While the rest of our agriculture is thriving, the cattle industry today is facing one of the worst outbreaks of foot-and-mouth disease our country has ever experienced. This disease is damaging our economy, resulting in export bans, trade restrictions, and the devastation of herds. We have decided to vaccinate the entire national herd of 14 million cattle. This requires 28 million vaccines over the next few months. The state will facilitate the acquisition of the vaccine centrally to ensure that we get the right vaccine for the particular strain of the virus in South Africa. Like during COVID, many people felt tempted that they wanted to acquire vaccines for themselves. But because we are a regulated economy and country, we wanted everything to be approved by our authority, SAPRA. Similarly, in this case, with cattle vaccines, SAPRA, our authority, will be the one single organization that will give approval. We will work closely with the private sector to enable an efficient rollout, and most importantly, we will ensure that commercial, private, and communal farmers have immediate access to vaccines. Now, I have established a task team made up of farming organizations, farmer organizations and experts working together with the Minister of Agriculture and his department that will report to me every month about the progress we are making in dealing with the pandemic. Now, why do we do this? We do this because we've got experts. We've got people with great knowledge. We need to mobilize them. We need to bring them to work with government because they have the know-how and the wisdom. We have classified foot and mouth disease as a national disaster and will be mobilizing all necessary capabilities within the state to deal with this crisis. Our services sector, from digital technology to financial services, is growing. Our financial institutions are some of the best in the world, and they have the ability to compete in Africa and across the globe. We are attracting major investment in digital infrastructure with 55 data centers already built and more than 50 billion of investment expected over the next few years. Tourism is a vital driver of economic growth. With every 13 international tourist arrival, they support one job. Our tourism sector made history last year, recording the arrival of 10.5 million visitors from overseas. We must now promote unique cultural, historical, and natural attractions of our country to reflect our country's identity. This can include traditional festivals, cultural areas in our country, local crafts, historical sites, and natural landscapes across the country in rural areas as well. As we strengthen our criminal justice system, we will make areas safer for tourists to visit. In the coming year, we will extend the electronic travel authorization system to all countries that require visas, enabling applications for tourists to be processed digitally within a 24-hour period. Now, the biggest opportunity of all lies in the green economy. We are pivoting our economy to be a leading supplier of products which the world will rely on in decades to come. We are expanding support for manufacturing of green products for global markets, from fertilizer to jet fuel, chemicals to steel. From March this year, we will introduce 150% tax deduction for investment in new energy vehicles, while supporting the local production of batteries as well. International pledges to the Just Energy Transition Investment Plan now stand at approximately 250 billion rand. This is financing large-scale investment in manufacturing, infrastructure, as well as skills. South Africa has become the world's largest reserve of critical minerals. Our ore reserves are valued at more than 40 trillion rand, making mining a sunrise industry. After many years of declining investment in exploration, we are dedicating funds towards geological mapping and exploration to harness our critical mineral reserves. Just this week, the Industrial Development Corporation announced more than 300 million rand in funding for the Frontier Rare Earths project in the Northern Cape. This has the potential to become one of the largest and most and lowest cost new producers of minerals that are needed for smartphones, lithium batteries, and other products. Confidence in the future of South African mining was very evident during the mining indaba this week here in Cape Town. New gold, copper, rare earths, platinum, and coal mines are being opened. And black people are players, serious players in this industry now of late. And we are happy about that. At the G20 Leaders Summit in November last year, the G20 countries supported our proposal to expand local beneficiation of critical minerals and the export of finished goods. Critical minerals beneficiation that should take place at the source of extraction, right where the minerals are found. Over the course of the first 5 South African investment conferences, we were able to raise 1.5 trillion rand in investment commitments. To date, over 600 billion that was committed has flowed into projects. New factories, mines, and other facilities are being opened each year. We have now set ourselves a target of raising 2 trillion rand in new investments over the next 5 years. We therefore look forward to hosting the 6th South African Investment Conference on the 31st of March of 2026. To build a more inclusive economy, we are going to back those who create opportunity. If every small and medium business in South Africa could employ 1 additional person, we would create 3 million new jobs. But many of these businesses, a number of which are owned by women and young people, cannot get funding to start or to grow. Many struggle to find markets for their goods and services, and nearly all small and medium enterprises have to contend with a multitude of regulations, of bylaws, of licensing requirements, and bureaucratic hurdles. We take seriously the public comments on the draft business licensing bill and will ensure that the final bill makes it easier, not harder, to start and to run a small business in South Africa. We will do that. This year, we will provide more than 2.5 billion in funding to over 180,000 small and medium enterprises and extend a further 1 billion in guarantees. Naturally, we will seek to also focus on women and youth-led businesses to foster their empowerment. And we will amend the National Credit Act regulations to make it easier to access credit at a lower cost. The transformation of our economy is necessary to drive sustained growth, to reduce inequality, and correct the injustices of the past. We are undertaking a review to refine, realign, and strengthen our broad-based Black economic empowerment framework to ensure that it supports greater transformation and inclusive growth. Now, all these actions will create a stronger economy and fix the foundations that were broken. It is a matter of national concern that too many South Africans remain unemployed and too many young people struggle to find their first job. That is why we are rebuilding the economy. We are creating work and livelihood opportunities on a scale through public and social employment programs. In places like Standerton in Mpumalanga, The presidential employment stimulus is creating work that matters, turning dumping sites into parks and empty yards into community gardens. The SA Youth Platform has provided millions of young people with access to work and learning opportunities for the first time. The Youth Employment Service, a partnership between business and government, placed over 200,000 young people in year-long work experience opportunities. This year, we will introduce regulatory changes that will make it much easier for businesses to participate in the Youth Employment Service and create jobs for young people. In the coming year, we will expand our public employment programs, including the Community Works Program and the EPWP and the Presidential Employment Stimulus. We will ensure that they are better coordinated, provide income support, skills development, and pathways into longer-term work, particularly for young people and women. To ensure that no one is left behind, we are implementing decisions to increase employment equity targets for persons with disabilities in the public service to 7% by 2030, and to mandate a 7% preferential procurement target across all government and public entities. Above all, however, a strong economy relies on a well-educated, capable, and skilled population. Our focus now is on establishing a firm foundation for learning in the early years of a child's life. We are expanding access to early childhood development through the Bana Pele mass registration of ECD facilities and an increase in subsidies for ECD learners. By making grade R compulsory, we are getting all our children off to a good start. We are intensifying efforts to fix the basic education system with a focus on early learning, literacy, numeracy, and mother tongue-based bilingual education. Now, we must congratulate the matric class of 2025, which achieved an 88% pass rate. Now, this is the highest pass rate in our history, reflecting both commitment of the learners and the interventions we have made to improve learning, but we also congratulate them for the sacrifices they themselves have made to get where they are. As we welcome improvements in the also address the high dropout rate in the last few years of schooling. More learners must be able to write matric and take subjects like maths and science. That will enable them to progress further. To enable the youth today to transform our society and secure their future, we are preparing the ground for a skills revolution. We are undertaking a fundamental overhaul of the skills development system to implement a dual training model that integrates education with practical workplace experience. Now, this will enable young people, as they are trained for skills, to be almost certain that they will get jobs once their training has happened. We will reform and reduce the number of sector education training authorities, SETAs, to improve governance, strengthen industry participation, raise the quality of training, and better align skills development with the needs of the economy. Now, this includes improving the use of TVET colleges as the primary sites for occupational training and artisan development. To support effective workplace learning, we will increase the proportion of the skills development levy returned to employers, restoring it to its original level of 40%. We will also transform the National Skills Fund into a more agile, outcomes-driven instrument that supports unemployed young people to access workplace experience and employment, building on successful initiatives such as Job Boost. These reforms will ensure that various training programs that we have in government are a door to opportunity, not a dead end. To absorb the increasing number of young people passing matric, we will expand opportunities for young people to enter institutions of higher learning. I have directed the Ministers of Finance and Higher Education to work on a proposal for us to build more universities and TVET colleges for specialized areas of focus. An immediate problem is the great shortage of student accommodation at our institutions of learning. I have also directed the Minister of Higher Education to address this challenge, working together with financial institutions on innovative methods in which government can provide student accommodation. A stronger South Africa is built on strong communities, and strong communities look after their children. More than a quarter of children under 5 years are stunted, increasing their risk of disease and affecting their ability to learn and to grow. Now, this is devastating for children and their families and has an impact on our society as a whole. This year, we will embark on a mission to end child stunting and malnutrition by 2030 and tackle malnutrition amongst young children in line with the national strategy to accelerate action for children. We will focus on the crucial 1,000 days of a child's life, building on existing support such as the Child Support Grant. We will implement targeted interventions to ensure that pregnant women and low birth weight children get the protein and nutrients that they need. This is a massive crisis that demands attention and resources. Now, the medium-term budget statement that will be presented by the Minister later this year will set out a clear allocation for the actions that we need to take. A major contributor to child stunting is excessive alcohol consumption, which can affect a child's development during pregnancy. Alcohol abuse leads to violence, leads to road accidents and crime. Now, to address this scourge, we call on provincial governments to strengthen the regulation of alcohol by limiting the density of alcohol outlets, restricting trading hours, and ending the sale of alcohol in large containers. As national government, we propose measures to curb excessive alcohol use, including minimum unit pricing or higher excise duties and greater restrictions on alcohol advertising, which we are consulting with the stakeholders. Now, since it was introduced during COVID-19, the Social Relief of Distress Grant has kept millions of South Africans out of food poverty. As a transformative instrument to to improve the lives of the poorest and the most vulnerable people, this grant will be continued into the future. This year, we will redesign the grant to more effectively support livelihoods, skills development, work opportunities, and productive activity. We know that most of the money provided through the social grants is spent on food and transport. In our cities and towns, most people live far away from workplaces and services. We are remaking our cities and reducing the cost of living for working families by expanding affordable housing and revitalizing commuter rail. We are introducing a new model for housing where people are given subsidies for ownership and rental in areas that are suitable for them. We are shifting from building houses for people to supporting them to build, to buy or to rent their own houses. Yesterday marked the 60th anniversary of the declaration of District 6 here in this city as a wide group area. A couple of 100 meters from here, where we are, more than 60,000 residents were forcibly removed and relocated to the Cape Flats. The destruction of District 6 is a painful reminder of our shared responsibility to redress the injustices of the past and to build vibrant and cohesive communities. The restitution claim lodged in 1998 affirmed the lawful right of former residents of District 6 and their descendants to come home. That return has required court supervision, detailed planning, and sustained public investment. Many homes have now been completed and handed over to verified claimants. With 500 million rand allocated to this work, we are proceeding with phase 4 of the construction. The restoration of District 6 is a goal we all seek and a responsibility that we must all shoulder. We are working to build a healthy nation. As part of preparation for the National Health Insurance, we are investing in health facilities, in personnel and systems to improve access to quality care. We will be undertaking substantial investment in health infrastructure, prioritizing the construction and revitalization of our academic hospitals. On a recent visit that I undertook, led by Minister Motsoaledi, to George Mkhari Hospital in Ga-Rankuwa, I witnessed the dire effects of inadequate health infrastructure. Starting with George Mkhari Hospital, we will be working with various public and private financing institutions to finance the building and revitalization of that hospital as well as other healthcare facilities. Now, as a nation, we are finally able to imagine a country without HIV/AIDS. In support of our program to prevent and ultimately to eliminate HIV, we will be undertaking a massive rollout of lenacapavir, a 6-monthly injection that has proven highly effective in preventing transmission of HIV. We are also working to end cervical cancer in our country by mobilizing society to ensure that every young girl between the ages of 9 and 15 receives HPV vaccine. Last year, we classified gender-based violence and femicide as a national disaster. Now, through this classification, we are able to better coordinate our response and direct efforts towards the most impactful interventions. Building on the National Strategic Plan, we will mobilize all sectors of society through communication and social mobilization to challenge harmful attitudes and practices. We will continue to promote women's economic empowerment through training, financial support, and preferential procurement. We will strengthen law enforcement through faster investigation, improved case management, expanded sexual offenses courts, and action against repeat offenders. We will scale up survivor center support, ensuring access to shelters, one-stop service centers, mobile and rural outreach, and the placement of social workers in our police stations. Illegal immigration continues to pose a risk to our security, our stability, and economic progress. We will address this problem while ensuring that the fundamental rights of every person in this country are upheld and protected. This year, we will take additional steps to secure our borders. Funding to strengthen border security will be prioritized, covering infrastructure, technology, and people. Now, key border posts will be redeveloped through public-private partnerships, and we will extend the electronic travel authorization to all international airports and the busiest land ports of entry. We are already using drones and technology to greater effect all along our borderline. The police, home affairs, and labor inspectors will work together to crack down on violations of existing immigration, labor, and other laws. Employers who hire foreign nationals without the required permits or visas will face the full might of the law. Now, to tighten enforcement, we will hire an additional 10,000 labor inspectors this year. As we undertake these interventions, we insist that the laws of our country must be observed by everyone. We will not tolerate violence and acts of lawlessness directed at foreign nationals. No foreign national should be unlawfully barred from accessing public facilities, including health facilities and schools. To build a stronger South Africa, we need an ethical and capable developmental state. A capable state needs committed and honest public servants with the right skills and a deep culture of service. Over the past year, we have passed significant new legislation to professionalize the public service. The Public Service Amendment Bill will protect key appointments from political interference and ensure that capable and qualified people are appointed to senior positions on the basis of their suitability for the job. Lifestyle audits have been made mandatory for senior public servants, reaching 93% compliance across departments. We are establishing a central registry for disciplinary cases across all spheres of government. This will prevent people who are facing or have undergone discipline action from being employed elsewhere in the state. We are continuing to improve governance and performance of state-owned enterprises like Eskom, Transnet, Denel, Prasa, and others. This includes the implementation of clear standards of appointment to ensure that the leaders of these entities have the right qualifications, and experience. We will continue to work in a phased manner towards a centralized model of managing our SOE portfolio so that we can set standards, improve governance, and ensure financial sustainability to deliver on their mandates. This includes finalizing the National State Enterprise Bill, which will be done in this Parliament. We will harness digital transformation as a driver of growth, of inclusion and effective service delivery. This year, Home Affairs will launch the Digital ID to enable safe and secure use of digital services for all South Africans. We will digitize driver's licenses, matric certificates, and services at the Master's Office. Citizens will be able to fill out police statements online, and eligibility for SASSA grants online, and be tested remotely. All these services will be made available by my Mzansi platform. Soon, every South African will be able to access many of the services they need without having to visit a government office or filling out manual forms. This year alone, hundreds more bank branches will now offer smart IDs and passport services, decreasing queues and waiting times. We will also work with civil society to ensure that citizens' protections and rights are safeguarded through this digital revolution. For South Africa to be strong, our continent, Africa, must be at peace and it must prosper. To advance the values of our Constitution, to promote our national interest, we seek a world that is sustainable, just, and inclusive. In an increasingly volatile world, South Africa holds firm to the principles that defined our G20 presidency and underpin our foreign policy, which is solidarity, equality, and sustainability. Now, through our position in the African Union and the Southern African Development Community, SADC, we are advancing regional integration, peace, and stability. We know that we are using our international relations to support domestic economic priorities, including manufacturing, value addition, and export growth. We are contributing to the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area to expand trade between African countries, to drive industrialization, and to create jobs. South African firms, our banks, our farmers, our manufacturers will be leading suppliers to an African market of 1.4 billion people whose working age population will double in the next 25 years. We are building mutually beneficial relations with all countries on terms of equality and respect. Now, in a world where powerful nations often assert their dominance and influence over less powerful nations, our country's commitment to sovereignty and self-determination is sacrosanct. It is not negotiable. And we will stand firm on our sovereignty and promote our national interests, our values, and the rights of our people. We are clear that we will continue to respect the rights and sovereignty of other nations, but we must be equally clear that we will not be bullied by any other country in the world. We will forge strong partnerships with like-minded countries to increase our shared resilience to global disruptions. Building on our presidency of the G20, which all attest to having been very successful, we continue to advance the priorities of the Global South. Now, these include inclusive growth, debt relief, climate action, reform of global governance institutions, and the beneficiation of critical minerals at source, as we said. Drawing on the work of the G20 Extraordinary Committee on Global Inequality, we are working with other international partners towards launching the International Panel on Inequality. This is an important pillar of the global effort to reduce inequality within and between nations. We continue to champion multilateralism and strengthen humanitarian diplomacy. South Africa remains clear and consistent, a consistent voice for international law, for justice, and for human rights. South Africa will continue to support conflict prevention and peacekeeping efforts of the United Nations, the African Union, and SADC. We are proud of the participation of South African soldiers in peacekeeping missions in many parts of our continent since the advent of democracy. We have requested the United Nations to allow us to withdraw our troops from the UN mission in the DRC, where they were serving under MONUSCO, with a view of consolidating our own defense force and strengthening it. We cannot consider ourselves free as long as the people of Palestine, of Cuba, of Sudan, and Western Sahara, and elsewhere suffer occupation, oppression, and war. So, fellow South Africans, our nation has reached what many people are saying is a turning point. We are leaving behind an era of decline and turning towards an era of prosperity and growth. We have done much to overcome the effects of state capture, COVID-19, and the public unrest of 2021, and the devastating floods of the following year. We are turning towards hope, towards the reality of a better future for all. The progress we have made over the last 5 years does give us hope and encouragement. It shows what we can achieve when we work together. Now is not the time to rest. Now is the time for all South Africans to be part of taking our country forward. Last year, we embarked on a new chapter in our democracy, launching a national dialogue at a convention that brought together South Africans from across the country, representing all sections of society. Now, this year, this national dialogue process will spread across South Africa, reaching every community, every school, every university, every college, and every part of our society. Under the guidance of the Eminent Persons Group, consisting of prominent, respected South Africans, and led by an inclusive steering committee, these public dialogues will give the citizens of our country the opportunity to raise their concerns, their aspirations, and plans for the future. These public dialogues will culminate in a national convention where all these conversations will be brought together to outline the actions that we must take to build a better South Africa. These conversations will guide the formulation of an overarching national compact and the next phase of the National Development Plan by 2030. In building this national consensus, we must draw not only on the shared values of our Constitution, but on the unifying power of sport, and the rich diversity of our culture. As we celebrate those who have reached heights of global achievement amongst us, we must appreciate how sport and cultural activities have helped to build a cohesive society. Harnessing the spirit of the women of 1956, the youth of 1976, and the people of South Africa in 1996 when they drafted the Constitution. The year 2026 must be a year of transformative change. This must be the year that we make South Africa stronger, not weaker. We must fix what we must fix. Local government. We must fight crime and corruption and restore trust in the criminal justice system. We must create jobs and livelihoods for every South African. And we must build a state that works for all the people of South Africa. Above all, we must ensure that this rising tide lifts every South African. As the economy grows, it should bring into its fold those who have lived on the margins. This is the time for all South Africans to rise, and we must rise together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, honorable members. You may take your seats. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. The House is still in procession. Order, honorable members. I thank the Honorable, the President, for a well-delivered State of the Nation address. After I have adjourned this joint sitting, members are requested to rise and remain at their places until the procession has left the chamber. The guests in the gallery should remain seated until the judiciary has left. The ushers will then indicate when doors are open. The procession led by the usher of the Black Rod and the acting Sergeant-at-Arms will leave the chamber in the following order: the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, the President, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, the Deputy President, the Secretary to Parliament. Honorable members, that concludes the business of the day. The joint sitting is adjourned.